You're listening to the Sass Says podcast. I'm your host, Christie Rocha, also known as Sass. I identify as a woman, a wife, and a mother. That should tell you a lot already. And over the last few years, I've learned the value of talk therapy. I have seen how my inner work not only enhances my own well-being, but also my marriage, my parenting, my relationships. And in fact, you wouldn't be hearing this right now if it weren't for the work I've done. My mission is to debunk the misconceptions and stigmas around what therapy is and who it's for. Let's normalize working on our mental health and seeking help when needed. We've all heard of self-care, self-help, and self-love, but do you often wonder how to actually make it all happen? I do. You'll hear strategy-based conversations with professionals, as well as inspiring and validating stories from women who are just like you and me. Think of this podcast as the weekly therapy sessions you didn't know you needed, with a dash of sass, a lot of vulnerability, and me, relentlessly asking, but how? Hello. Welcome to the fourth and final solo show this month on the topic of mental health, productivity, and ambition. Did you catch Wednesday's episode with Dani Kenney? If you missed it, you're definitely going to want to go back and check it out. Dani is dedicated to helping heart-centered female entrepreneurs master their energy and their mindset so that they can create the life they are obsessed with, make more money, and make a bigger impact in this world. We talked about the connection between growing a business and energy work and spirituality. We talked about cultivating your inner knowing, healing our inner child, and how to create momentum when you're feeling stuck. Okay, so first thing I have to talk about is the similarity between what Dani described when she created the Momentum Group and how I feel about creating this series. Dani shared that following a dark, tough period postpartum, she needed something to help her get some momentum going. So she created a group and invited women to come along with her who were feeling the same, feeling stuck and just needed help. And she says, I quote, "I created the thing that I needed and invited the people I needed to come with me." And at first I was like, wow, yeah, great idea. And then I immediately realized that that's exactly what I did here. It's no secret that I've been feeling a little bit stuck or just in need of some guidance when it comes to managing my time, being my most productive self, getting this podcast moving and grooving in the way that I'd like to. So with the help of my therapist, I decided to do this individual series based on the different categories that I typically talk about. And I decided to do this one first. In the coming months, you will see a similar format that you've seen here for the last month, but with a different topic, whether that be about relationships or pregnancy. But I chose ambition and productivity first. I needed this one the most right now, so I created it and I invited the experts I needed to come with me. So I don't know, there's almost nothing I love more than when things fall into place without me having to try very hard and without me even realizing that's what's happening. And while I knew these topics and the shows within this series were related to each other and would go nicely together, I never could have imagined just how much overlap there would be for me personally. And I can clearly see how one impacts the other in every aspect of what and how and why I produce things related to this darn ambition of mine. It's very cool. And if you need a sign, this is it. Create the thing you need and invite the people you need to come along with you. So here it is. Here's the sign. Do it. The next point of reflection that I want to talk about is my own sort of come to Jesus aha moment with my mindset about this show. I talk all day long about how I want to monetize and grow, and I'm reminded of that familiar line that floats around dinner tables full of 20-something women, floats around TikTok trends and daytime talk shows. That line that says, if he wanted to, he would. You know what I'm talking about, right? And I'm kind of applying that to myself right now of if I wanted to, I would. Now, of course, there are legitimate roadblocks, barriers, and actual live human beings who require my time and energy and care every single day. But Holly and Sade pretty much got that part covered as far as how to organize and structure the time. They have the strategies to actually work out the plan. Now, it's Dani who's helping me realize how limiting my beliefs have become around this. I approach this podcast, this quote unquote business, this brand, with the mindset that if something falls through the cracks, if something doesn't get done, or if something isn't produced properly, then what does it really matter? No one is depending on me for income. No one is really depending on me for content. And when I say that, I don't mean you listening. I mean, I'm not in partnerships with anyone that if I don't get a show out, then their sponsorship doesn't air. Like, I'm not answering to anyone but myself. But what Dani is helping me to see, which makes a ton of sense when I think about Sarah, the Enneagram, and my type 3ism, is that it really would matter. It would matter to me. It would matter to my sense of worth, my sense of self, my commitment to myself in this mission. And really, I have to start to value that more. I have to value my commitment to myself more. And I say this makes sense because the type 3 is always concerned about image and what other people are thinking, feeling, and how others are impacted and the perception that they have of me. So in this case, I don't have much of that. So yeah, it's kind of like that makes sense why this isn't, I don't want to say it hasn't been motivating, but I definitely thrive on that outside acknowledgement and that outside reliance and dependence. But what I'm saying is I have to start to do that for myself. You know, I know that I also pride myself on achieving and success. And while sometimes just getting an episode out is success, I know I'm capable of more. I know that if I can allow for consistency to mean something different than all day, every day, all the time, that I can implement an 8 to 10 hour a week plan that hits this shit out of the park. I know I can. And now what I have to grapple with is, do I want to? And that's where that if he wanted to, he would thing is coming into play. And you know what? I do want to. Thinking back to Holly and her bus stop dream, you know, mine is different. I want to because I want more time to myself. I want more recognition. I want more outside world connection. I want monetary success and to contribute more to my household. I want to send my kids to places. I want to travel as a family. I want our family, our home, our world, meaning, you know, my world here, I guess, to be free of financial stress. And I also really want you to feel guided and supported by what I'm doing here. I want a community. You know, I always say to my husband when he asks me if I want to keep going with this or if I want to change it up or stop or whatever, I always say, yes, I have to keep going. I have to change the world. And guess what? You're a part of the world. All right. And the last point I want to pull out from my conversation with Dani is about those incredible lightning bolt moments in life. And perhaps more importantly, the time between those lightning bolt moments. So first of all, I want to ask, did that resonate with you? I completely understood and related to Dani talking about how she was crying on the walk and just having this gut instinct to call the energy healer. I've been thinking about this for the last few days, and I honestly can't think of an exact time that I've experienced that moment, but I know I have. I absolutely know I have. They are those moments that are building in the background that you have no idea is happening until what feels like out of nowhere, you just know what to do. those moments are so good. But oh my goodness, the time in between those moments, especially when you're actively on a journey, like for example, the body image one, or when you're actively trying to build something like a business, or when you're actively parenting your kids, that time in between can feel so brutal. And I just want you to know again that I see you in those times of waiting. Shout out Barb Hill. I see how hard it is to be in the unknowing. And this is why it is so important to cultivate your knowing so that when it does call to you, you can hear it and you have the trust and the confidence in yourself to act on it. All right, so these are some really good words of wisdom I'm spitting out here, and I will give you 100% transparency. I am spitting them right out to myself. So I'm doing this because I need these reminders. I hope you do too. There is so much more to come with all 4 experts and of course me on the live Zoom. So make sure you sign up to join us on May 31st at 1 p.m. Eastern by visiting www.sasssays.com/panel. It'll be linked in the show notes. This is a free live Zoom call with me, Dani Kenney, Sarah Wallace, Sade Kelly, and Holly Haynes, where you will have the chance to ask your questions to the experts. You must go to this link and sign up in order to get access to the Zoom link. So go ahead, do it, sign up. And just as a little podcast housekeeping, next week I have 2 fantastic shows coming for you. They are unrelated to this series, so look out for those. We're just, taking a little palate cleanser, breather from all this ambition talk. Got some really, really great conversations coming for you before we launch the next category. So make sure you are subscribed to my email list so you are the first to know about the topic I'll be covering all month long in June. It's going to be fantastic. And that's all I've got. I'll hopefully see you May 31st, 1 p.m. Eastern, live Zoom call. And of course, I'll catch you next week. All right, bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. Sass Says is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. This podcast is meant to be educational and not meant to replace professional therapy or professional medical attention. To learn more about today's show and what's new in my world, head over to sasssays.com. Thanks so much. Talk later.